our obsession with the body. Okay, we're going to start off with our obsession with the body. I don't think there's a better way to begin a 200-hour yoga teacher training in Budokon than starting with the body itself and why we're so obsessed with it. And you know what's even more ironic for us too is that oftentimes, and I know Ann can speak to this, Ann's been with Budokon for many years, most people, the first thing they see is the physical practice. And when you say that most people get excited about the physical practice from the very beginning, it's not until the students find themselves actually studying this work that something really begins to be transformative. But how many of you guys think that when you first saw Budokon, the first thing that grabbed your attention was the movement? Because that's normal and that's common. And then as we move deeper into the work, what we discover is that the movement is a very superficial aspect of the practice. It's very much a surface part. Okay, so what is modern yoga dealing with right now as an epidemic? What do we think one of the biggest challenges of modern yoga is? Body image issues. People are pretty hyper focused on physical postural work, understanding yoga as shape making, right? And because of this, it's creating a very interesting environment, and that environment is not a negative. Again, there are no rights and wrongs and goods and bads, so it's not creating an incorrect environment. It's just simply creating more of what yoga ultimately is not. Understanding ourselves is a lot about understanding what we are not. It's not as important to understand what we are, because when you understand the play of consciousness, what you start to figure out is the only way to get to who you are is by understanding who you are not. Does that make sense? Because when you sit and you start meditating, the first things that you start to come to realization, I'm not my body. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my memories. I'm not my this, I'm not my that, because these things are temporary, they're passing, coming and going. They were given birth, and anything that's given birth also must experience death. But you are permanent, right? The permanent you is behind birth and death. So if you are complete isness and always wasness and always will be-ness, then you cannot be the temporary body. You cannot be the temporary mind. So that means you can't be any of the problems that occur for the body. You with me? What problems occur for the body? Every problem, right? Hunger, loneliness, anger, all suffering, everything that all your problems have to do with the body. When the body goes, you have no problems. That's how we know we are not, in fact, the body. Because we are, in fact, not a problem. There is no problem with us. The you, the I am, has no problem. It does begin to have a problem when you believe I am is this, I am that. Now we have a problem. Because I am this goes away. I am that changes. And soon, right, you with me? So if I'm this, and this can change, and this can come, and this can go, I got a problem. So once we understand all of our problems lie within the body, and that the body is not, in fact, us, now the illusion begins to melt. But the suffering, which causes the suffering. But let's jump in real quick. That's just a little thought to play with. Some light stuff. So let's jump into Shree's work. We're working with I am that, right? So we're going to be doing, each morning we're going to be doing a little reading from Shree's work, and we're going to be going through some of his statements. I think it's really important and what is the right term? It has an incredible effect, I believe, to listen to the responses of someone as realized as this guy is. He's awake, massively awake. And when you hear someone who's awake speak this way, you're like, okay, it's pretty special. So I like to read from his work. I think it's incredible. So the way that the book is written is it's in question and answer form. Okay? So questions asked, answers given. So I'm just going to jump right into a question and an answer. So first thing he says, the questioner says, it is a matter of daily experience that when waking up, the world suddenly appears. Where does it come from? So he says, hey, I wake up and the world is in front of me. Where does it come from? Maharaj says, before anything can come into being, there must be somebody to whom it comes. All appearance and disappearance presupposes a change against some changeless background. Okay? So let's look at this again. Before anything can come into being, there must be somebody to whom it comes. So he's saying right away here that before something can come into being, there must be someone for that to come to. So, in other words, the body must exist. I must be able to perceive before that which is perceived can come into reality. Make sense? So there must be a body to receive the images, the experience. Is that pretty clear? Right? So if the world exists around me, that's fine, but the only reason I know the world exists around me is because there is a body to know that. There is a brain to know that I am seeing what I'm seeing. If there's no body, there's no seeing. If there are no eyes, there's no brain, there's no seeing what is. So basically, what exists without the body being able to see it doesn't exist. Because the body is basically, in and of itself, simply an antenna. It's just receiving. And all it's doing is bouncing off and receiving back information. That's all we are. So the body is this very sophisticated tool for interpreting sensation. What are you doing right now? You're feeling the temperature. Your body's adjusting to the temperature. It gets hotter in here, your body cools down. It gets brighter in here, your eyes shut more light out. Isn't that fascinating? But that's your body is doing all that right now while you just sit like this and pay attention to me. And yet your body's regulating every sensation that's occurring around you. That's incredible. And that's what the body does. And that's why the body is in itself a miracle. We're always like, oh, miracle. That's a miracle. I don't need people to walk on water for miracles. That's a miracle. The fact that the body can regulate my entire reality without me being conscious of it is miraculous. That's enough, as far as I'm concerned. So, something to think about for you. With that said, the body must be here to know what here is. Simple. All appearance and disappearance presupposes a change against some changeless background. Okay? So, change occurs against what?
Resistance. Change.
Well, and to a certain degree, you could say that. That's a little more esoteric in the sense that, change, chaos is also the result of complete order, right? But what we're talking about is the idea that matter appears against nothingness, right? There is nothingness from which matter emerges. So, who are we? Are we the matter or are we the nothingness? Which? Okay, so Colton says both. Interesting observation. If the body is matter, if the mind is matter, if consciousness is matter, and this matter exists or sits in emptiness, in space, from which it has emerged, then question 2, Does matter come and go? Does matter change? Right. So if matter comes and goes and matter changes, are we matter?
Yes.
Or, okay, in what sense are we the matter?
Well, I mean, humans come and go. Right?
Okay, bodies come and go.
Yeah, bodies. But
So
the mind,
are we the body?
No, we're the soul. The mind, or whatever you're going to call it.
Well, hold. Okay, good. So the soul or the mind is matter. So consciousness. So we're playing with this game. What if the mind? See, let me use a term that we often use: soul or spirit. So we say, "Oh man, what happens when you die? Your soul or your spirit leaves the body." Or I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I'm going to ask you guys right now to consider this definition of spirituality. Spirituality is the exploration of consciousness. Spirituality is the exploration of consciousness. Consciousness is matter itself. So when we are spiritually seeking, all we're doing is investigating matter. You cannot investigate nothing because nothing is nothing. Understand? You can only investigate something. And you can only investigate something with something. Okay? So the mind must be present to investigate that which the mind can perceive. The mind, let me say it again. The mind must be present. There must be a mind to explore or investigate that which the mind can perceive. The mind can only perceive other matter. So matter perceiving matter is what we're dealing with here. You with me? Matter perceiving matter. Matter perceiving matter. So are we this matter? Absolutely. I would say we are not this matter. We are the result of matter organizing itself in a certain way that allows for sensation to occur. Awareness, to see, to feel, to touch, to hear, to speak. This is the arrangement of matter that has occurred, and we call it the body. And because matter has arranged this way, it's arranged itself in such a manner that we are able to perceive the world around us, other matter. However, when this matter goes back into chaos again, so we say when we decompose, is that chaotic? I'd say so. You know what I mean? That's just the body going and going to back into the dirt again to a certain amount. So I'm using chaos as a relative term, but I think you understand, right? So if we can say the body working, let's call this in a relative way, let's call this order. And when the body decomposes, let's call that chaos in a relative way. In an absolute way, it's all perfection. Agreed? In an absolute sense. So you see how I'm jumping back between relative and absolute? Or matter and nothingness? Somethingness, nothingness? Well, it's the same. Esoterically, yes, it's the same, and yet it's not. Okay? Because there has to be a difference between that which exists and that which is the potentiality for existence. Right? There has to be a difference between matter and the space in which matter exists. There is a difference in these two things. Because we can observe it, but more importantly, what we can observe, and I come back to our earlier statement, we can observe what we are not. We realize that when the body decomposes, when the mind is gone, what are we left with? What are we left with when the mind goes? Okay. Okay. Well, not in. Okay. An empty body. Okay. Here's an interesting concept. An empty body suggests that there is something in the body. That would be the soul or the spirit. This is a more common religious perspective, or some might call it a spiritual perspective. That there is the body as a vessel, and within the body sits a spirit or a soul. I am offering to you the possibility that that, in fact, is not true. That there is nothing that sits inside the body, that the body, that the spirit, that the soul are all one entity, that they are in and of themselves matter. So what we conceive of, and I call this a concept, what we conceive of as a soul or a spirit is based upon the idea handed down to us that when the body dies, we continue on outside of the body. But now, are you with me so far? So let me ask you this question. If the body dies, and you say we continue on outside the body, who then, might I ask, is we?
Energy.
Okay, energy. Does that energy have memory?
No.
Does it have consciousness? Right, so playing along here, going on the ride which Sky just took us, energy leaving the body. So, energy, which is ultimately scientifically what?
Basically, energy is like electricity, electrons, all of that.
Protons, neutrons?
Yeah, which we all have. And when we decompose, that's what's let off.
Okay, so let's back it up for a second. What holds our memories?
Brain.
Okay, the brain. So what does the brain do with memory? How does it create for us our lives? What does it do with memory, the brain? It does what? It stores them, correct. And does it store them in order?
No, not in mine.
Okay, not mine. Well, that's if you smoke a lot of herb, yeah, exactly. You're like, what order did this occur? I don't recall. But let's think for a second though. The brain does to the largest degree place things in order. It says, okay, this happened when I was 5, and so basically the reason you understand time is based on memory. Time, without your ability to contrast a moment that has occurred with a moment that is occurring, with a moment that will occur or could occur, you need order. You need memory. You need snapshots to go dot, dot, dot. If I watch a body decompose, I first need to see where it began, where it is, and then if I want to, I can throw in my imagination for where it will be. But at least where it began and where it is for me to say, oh, that body decomposed. So the brain places your life in order. What happens when there is no longer order in your brain to your memories? What happens to time? It's gone. So what is time ultimately then? Beautiful. It's a concept of the mind. So the brain makes up time. The brain invents this idea of time. Time does not exist in the universe for any other being at all. Only us. We have created time as a concept. And the only reason we understand time as we understand it is because we can see objects change from this point to that point to this point to that point, and the brain keeps that in order. So basically time is completely made up. And that's why there's a lot of scientific research on time travel, because they understand time is completely an illusion of the mind, that the deepest scientific understanding of time is that it's all occurring at once. Everything is occurring at one time, right now. Your past, your present, your future is all occurring now. And this is why people can see into the future or into the past, because everything is on one continuum. Does this make sense?
Yes.
And you can tap into that one continuum. So it's like this. What if you think about a book you've read and you've watched the character from the beginning to the end, right? We've all read books, and you watch the character start, go through their arc, their story, and then the finale. Now, it's interesting, but you know that book to you is like, you can see this person's life from start to finish, can't you? That is what time is really like. It's like everything is right there in the book. It's just there. It's only that you don't know it yet. We don't know because the mind, again, is limited to its immediate perceptions. And some people, though, can access other points along that straight line. So time is not doing this. Time is not going like that. Time is straight. So it's all accessible depending on where you grab it from. This is deeply understood knowledge for the ancient yogis who would sit and could go out and see that this very limited momentary experience is just that moment, limit. But that is all just simply created because the mind believes or buys into what is immediately available for it, right? But if we were to shift our understanding and our perception of how the universe is placed in order, we would begin to notice that we would have more access to things that we already do have access to. Don't you sometimes think about a person and they call you?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's happened to every person I've ever known. You just go, I wonder how they are. Boing. You're like, oh my God, what? Right? Everybody's had that. That is not coincidence. That is simply communication that's going on that we're capable of. But we don't see that as, we're still, if you really think about it, we need a device to pick up and do this and that. And if you really think about it, that's actually quite crude.
I've always thought that too.
Yeah.
I honestly don't really need internet for real. I think people should be able to share all that information on there about the computer for some reason.
And they have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ideas hop from one culture to another culture across an entire continent without internet before we got connected. How did that occur? I mean, sometimes we shared things with trade and people, but sometimes things just became common knowledge, and it's pretty special. It's pretty amazing. I just think that we oftentimes limit our possibility because we only believe what we see right in front of us. We only believe what we can touch, taste, and feel right now. So the questioner says, before waking up, I was unconscious. And Maharaj says, but in what sense were you unconscious? Having forgotten or not having experienced? Do you experience even when unconscious? Can you exist without knowing? A lapse of memory, is it a proof of non-existence? I like what he says this because oftentimes we say, what happens when I'm asleep? It's just a lapse of memory. That's all sleep is, a lapse of conscious memory. And can you validly talk about your own non-existence as an actual experience? You cannot even say that your mind did not exist. Did you not wake up on being called? And on waking up, was it not the sense I am that came first? Some seed consciousness must be existing even during sleep or swoon. On waking up, the experience runs. I am the body in the world. It may appear to arise in succession, but in fact, it is all simultaneous. A single idea of having a body in a world. Can there be the sense of I am without somebody or someone having it? So we wake up and we have this feeling of I am. I exist, I am. And this is the true us. This is the true self calling. I am. But what happens is the body and the senses jump in and go, wait a minute, I'm this and I'm that. And it starts interfering with the pure nature of I am. Does this make sense? So it's like you awaken to I am, and then suddenly the body goes, oh, I am beautiful. I am ugly. I am smart. I am stupid. I am in need. I am lonely. Suddenly the brain starts to tell all these stories about what you are and what I am this, I am that. And you suddenly forget that the only thing you are is the calling of I am. That sense of, all you need really is the sense of I am. Everything else is the lie anyway. Why is that important? Because when we deceive ourselves, when we begin to trade one truth for another, when we trade the unreal for the real, we begin to suffer. That's the result of suffering. So we're always, everybody in the world, I want to suffer less, I want to suffer less, I want to suffer less. Well, okay, the first place to start is stop believing that you are temporary things, that you are the problems of the body. You want to stop suffering? Stop believing that you are this and that. Because as long as you believe you're this and that, you will suffer. You will absolutely suffer. There's no doubt about it. It's just, it's the way the brain works. Because once the brain believes I am this, and this changes, or this goes away, or this gets threatened, you're going to go into an immediate state of fear. That's what we do. When we don't have something the way we want something, we become triggered by not having it that way. So when you don't have think about how many animals in nature, like let's just think of a leopard, right? A leopard. How stressed out is a leopard? I mean, just, how stressed out is a leopard? Probably not so much. Let's look at a leopard's activity for the day. Wake up, little yoga asana, little stretching, which we turned into, we're the only animal that teaches each other how to breathe, stretch, and be happy, which is one of my favorite statements to mindfuck people with. It's like, yeah, I'm going to teach you how to breathe. What animal teaches another animal how to breathe? I'm going to teach you how to stretch. What animal teaches another animal how to stretch? What animal teaches we're such a unique animal in that way because we're like, don't worry, I'll teach it to you. You don't have to learn it, figure it out, come to your own awakening with it. I'll give you the answer. And that's very human, isn't it? We love that, especially as parents, because we want to protect our children. So we want to give them all the solutions, which, by the way, giving a person a solution is not a real solution. Because they don't get to use. Solution is a tool, and what's a tool? It's something that you become skillful with. I can hand you anything, but you will not be able to use it well until you've practiced it. So giving you the ability to critically think, that's a gift. Do you remember the old one of my favorite quotes that comes from Christianity was you can give Jesus said you can give a man food for a day, you can give a man a fish, or you can teach a man to fish for a lifetime, right? So I give him a fish, feed him for a day, and teach him how to fish, and he can eat for a lifetime. Exactly. Thank you. So when you think about this concept, it's an identical sort of analogy or a metaphor for what we're talking about with giving people answers. You can give people answers and they get an immediate solution or result. However, they didn't learn to actually solve the problem. They didn't learn to critically think. So it's very important that you give people the opportunity to solve the problem rather than the solution to the problem. That's a huge difference. I don't know why I jumped on that, but sometimes these things come to my brain. What was I on before that? I have to, damn it, why do I go on tangents and then I totally forget? Or anyone? Bueller? I am this.
Attachment to this and that, and then what happens?
Attachment, memory, this, that. As long as you agree to something, you're going to suffer. That's pretty accurate. That's actually a good one. Okay, we'll just jump back into some more Shri. Oh, it's not important to you to know whether you are meaning or something else, or maybe don't you see that all your problems are your body's problems? Food, shelter, friends, name, fame, security, survival. All these things lose their meaning the moment you realize that you may not be a mere body. question, what benefit there is in knowing that I am not the body? Okay, good question. Basic question. What's the value of me coming to the realization that I'm not this body? What am I going to get from that? Very classic human question. What do I get? Right? And I love this banter between Shri and this young guy. This young guy who wrote this was in college at the time. He's like, okay, what's my payoff? I'm going to realize I'm not the body. What do I get? Shri says, even to say that you are not the body is not quite true. In a way, you are all the bodies, hearts and minds, and much more. Go deep into the sense of I am, and you will find. How do you find a thing you have mislaid or forgotten? Question mark. You keep it in your mind until you recall it. The sense of being of I am is the first to emerge. Ask yourself where it comes from, or just watch it quietly. When the mind stays in the I am, without moving, you enter a state which cannot be verbalized, but can be experienced. All you need to do is to try and try again. After all, the sense, I am, is always with you. Only you have attached all kinds of things to it. Body, feelings, thoughts, ideas, possessions, etc. All these self-identifications are misleading. Because of them, you take yourself to be what you are not. Pretty clear. Agreed? No, yeah? Okay, good. Any?
I like that. I think you get an authentic version of the present moment when you're letting all that go.
Right. He's saying if you just, I love when he says, how do you find something you've lost? You concentrate on it. You keep your mind on it. How do you find you when you're lost? If you, right? How do you find you if you're lost if the only thing you can think about is everything that is not you? So if you're lost and you're thinking about your pain and your suffering and your anger and your loneliness and you're the partner you wish you had, who you just lost, when you focus on all those things, you will never be found. You will only find more of those things, which is more suffering. So this is that old, we talk about now, whatever your mind focuses on is what you create more of. Well, yes, but I would even say more important, to Shri's point, if I stay focused on the fact that I am, which is, again, not this or not that, just I am, that ultimately that feeling and that experience will become stronger and stronger until it is permanent. And that's where he's at, in the permanent awareness of I am. So how do you think this guy experiences problems? They just come and they go. He says, my mind sometimes does get disturbed. But it's very quick and very short, and I don't bother with it. You with me? So what is our real true goal here? Is it to become like a robot where we're just like, nothing bothers me? Right? Yeah, not to linger. Thank you. It's about lingering. It's about how long do you choose to sit with that pain, with that anger, with that loneliness, with that despair? How long do you want to play with it? Because as long as you want to play with it, it will play with you. No doubt. You can be its best buddy for a lifetime. Or you can let it go and focus solely on I am, which is meaning that if I love he says this sometimes, he says, it is not even as important to know what you are as to know what you are not. Okay? If I know, he says, because a lot of times, like, what am I? What am I? He goes, what am I? You can't talk about the I am. You understand that? He goes, you can't discuss I am because it's beyond words. It's like, I love when people start talking about God, okay, as if you can describe. Now, I'm not a religious man, but even when I was, in my earlier days, a religious man, I always found it very interesting that people would describe God in these very small, limited ways, as if God could be sort of filtered down to human characteristics or personalities. God's jealous. God's angry. God loves his people. God does not love those people, but God loves those people. I'm just like, gosh, that seems a lot like humans, doesn't it? You know, and one of my favorite quotes that I say to people a lot is, God made man in his image as man made God in his. And that is a fact. And that is how we do it and how we've done it. And that is what we're dealing with. We've minimized the concept of God, which really, forget, because everybody's got God as an entity. How about God as isness? God as isness. Just pure potentiality. Right? Not a personality. Not an identity. But a complete isness from which all emerges. But not a conscious emerging. Not I'm making a tree. I'm making a dog. Not a conscious emerging. A natural emerging that is occurring. When most people look at the universe, they go, this is just. Some people look at it and go, it's so well planned out. They go, it's just perfect. Look at how it works. It just goes do do do. And then other people look at it and go, it's completely chaotic. There's no causation here. It makes no sense. And for me, when I see it in the work that I've done in the self-study, what you come to understand is that the universe does not work off of man's understanding. You do not and cannot and will not and we will never understand how and why the universe does what it does. It is incredibly congruent. Incongruent means that it's harmonious. It simply corrects itself when it goes this far, and it adjusts itself when it doesn't go far enough. Does this make sense? The universe just makes corrections just like nature does right in front of you. Do you see a plan out there? There's no plan happening. There's just congruency. This happened. So now everything, the nature in an area, the environment goes a little bit like that. So what happens when the environment does this? Self-corrects. Does that look like a plan? No, it looks like congruency. A plan would suggest that there is someone going, looks like there's too much winter time. I'm going to make there be more summer. This is the idea. This is what we've reduced God to. When in fact, all that's occurring is that the universe is responding to its own incredible intelligence. It's just moving. Now someone will go, well, wait a minute, intelligence has to be created. No, it does not. Intelligence does not need to be created because intelligence, the way we understand intelligence, is simply through our limited brain. So when a person says, this is intelligence, that means my intellect is measuring the intellect of something else. You cannot measure the intellect of nature with this little pea brain. Does this make sense? No little human brain can measure the intellect of nature and go, yeah, it's pretty intelligent. What the fuck do we know? We know nothing. This little brain knows nothing. We can see. What do we see? I forget scientists sometimes. We see like the head of a pin of what's occurring right in front of us at any moment. We don't even see that much. What's happening right now, where you can see, much less in the entire universe. So let's drop our arrogance. We are a stupid little animal. We're an arrogant, nasty little animal that's fucking up the planet. Point blank. And we're like so big and mighty about it all. And we've invented God. And we've invented right and wrong and justice and morality. And then we project it upon each other. We punish other humans when they don't behave the way we collectively agree they should. This is right and this is wrong. We're disturbing. We're a disturbing animal. If you could back out and look at us with that kind of perspective, we're disturbing is what we are. So, a lot of people, think, gosh, you're really hard on the world. I'm like, the world is fucked up. And when we start seeing that and being honest about that, in other words, what Shree's saying, when we see what we are not, we will start to see what we are. And as long as we continue to believe that we are our possessions and our accomplishments and our memories and our physicalities and our handstands and all of our bullshit, we're going to continue to create more suffering for each other. So our work is to strip that away, get rid of all that. This is killing us. Now you say to yourself, well, I'm here to teach yoga. I want to learn how to teach yoga. Good for you, because this is the first thing you're going to teach if you're going to teach Budokon. And the first thing you're going to teach is it's all made up. Everything is an illusion. We're making all of this up, and that you cannot teach yoga. Yoga is the emptiness. That's like saying you're going to teach God. You can teach God? You're going to roll in and go, I'm going to teach God today. Oh, really? With your little brain, you're going to teach some God, huh? I can't wait to see that. You're going to put God, which is yoga. Yoga is God. Yoga is God, is emptiness, is nothingness, is all potentiality. So you're going to teach these concepts with your little limited vocabulary and intellect. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think any of us are going to be doing that. I think what we're going to be teaching is how to make some shapes with the body, how to, make some food, how to be nice to each other. See, because these things we can really teach. These are things we can share. We can really share how to treat each other more kindly. Can we not? Yes. We can share how to be more loving, more kind, more considerate, more careful, and to be generous. How to care for each other, cook for each other, take better care of our bodies and we can teach those things. But you cannot teach God or yoga or emptiness. That cannot be taught because it's a concept. If you try to teach it, it must be experienced and only experienced. And that experience occurs by being silent, quiet, meditation, stillness. You do not experience that by further distraction and further doing. Right? How are you going to experience no doing by doing? How are you going to experience nothingness with somethingness? So what I'm suggesting to you, that if you want to experience the first work of the ancient yoga cosmonauts that were going out there and doing the work, it looks like this. And that's all it looks like. So drop the illusion that it looks like anything else but being still and quiet. And just simply becoming aware of how you respond to the world as it's coming at you. And we're all the way back to full circle. The world's coming at you and how you're responding to it. That's the only way for you to ultimately shed the illusion of I am this and I am that, is to identify what this and that is. And how do you identify what this and that is? Because it hits you, right? If she says to me tomorrow, I'm leaving you, then what am I? I am lonely. I am afraid. I am worthless. I'm not good enough. You right? Isn't that what I start to say? Right? Isn't that the that and the this and the that and the this and the that I start to become? That's what we do. And so when something occurs, my reaction to that occurrence is where I get to do my work. That's where we get to learn who we are. Through what's occurring or coming at us. That's it. And it keeps just filtering down over and over to this simplistic concept of less doing and more non-doing. So I don't have to get rid of my loneliness. I just have to concentrate on my fullness. I'm full. I'm complete. I can't lose that which I am. Like she goes away, who goes away? Her body goes away. But the her that is in the body is the same as the me. We are the same. Behind this thing, we, I am. That's it. So who's going away? her body. That's it. So my body will miss her body. That's it. My body will miss her body. But I can't miss me. I am her. So only my body will miss her body. My sensations will miss her. That's what will be missed. Now, I'm not saying that's not easy. I'm not saying that that doesn't take a great deal of effort to overcome the sensations of the body, because when we identify with the body for years and years and years, it gets tough to override that sensation. Agreed? It gets quite tough. So you have to recognize that it's not just like you get this and you go, okay, cool, done, got it. I'm just, your mom dies or your partner leaves, and you just go, all right, no big deal. Got that. I'm not saying it's like that. I'm saying that when it occurs, you get to root and anchor into I am and realize that all things are coming and going. They always will. At some point, I will lose her, whether it's tomorrow or it's when we're at old age or whatever occurs. But at some point, she will come, I will come, we will go. Who knows how long you have anything for? But the work is when the universe gives you that thing, you get to say, okay, here's how I work with that. So, moving through I want to call it like the weeds. The weeds are the thises and the that's. Getting through the weeds to get to the clarity. I do recognize that it's hard work, and that it takes time, and that it will be a lifelong process for you. But I will tell you this: it will not be because you earned it. You will not work and earn I am state. You are simply going to allow it because your mind is going to be focused on it. So again, just like out there when we're meditating on the beach this morning, what did I tell you to concentrate on when your mind got distracted by thoughts? Listening. So you come back to what is occurring instead of the brain, which is only telling you what has happened or will happen. Agreed? The brain only occupies two places: past, future. It doesn't occupy the now, because the now doesn't need you to be thinking. As soon as the thought enters your mind, the image of thought, it's a past thought or a future thought. It's never a now thought, because now is occurring. You can't see now in that way as a photograph, because now is now. But you can think about now 5 seconds from now, and you can even have an image of it. That's how reality and consciousness works. That's really cool, though, right? Because it's very clear. You're like, got it. That's simple. So anytime I am back there or over there, to return from those two places is not to fight it. Is not to go, God, don't think about the past. Don't think about fear. It's just to go, what's happening right now? Because when somebody breaks up with you, a lot of your pain is about what's going to happen now that you don't have them, right? The pain of the future. Right now, you're just having a normal day. Right now you could be eating lunch, but you're crying and suffering and snotting into your food, But the reality is nothing's changed, really. You're just still eating lunch, and you're still you. Everything's the same, except that in the future, you won't lay next to that person tonight. But you're going to suffer through that and through that and through that and through that, just because we love suffering. Because the suffering gives us a sensational, like we have a vested interest in suffering, because suffering gives us a visceral response. We get a tangible, touchable sensation from suffering. Why do you think a lot of artists suffer on purpose? Right? They're like, man, I need inspiration. I got to write a sad song. So I'm going to get a girl, and I'm going to pretend I'm in love, and then I'm going to pretend I'm heartbroken. And I'm going to write a song about it. Every fucking great song that's ever been written started like that. Some person who was never really committed anyway got into something and then needs a little bit of inspiration and writes a song about it. I'm not saying that some people haven't had, some true, genuine heartbreak, but a lot of that stuff is simply the result of needing inspiration as an artist. Picasso had like 100 wives. He needed to be in turmoil all the time to create his work. He needed something driving that, a muse we call them. You know? So, depending on what your work is, you might have a lot of muses. You might have lots of people to keep you in that cycle of high and low, high and low, high and low. But we love ourselves some high and low because we genuinely enjoy what occurs from sort of the ride. And we are not as familiar and comfortable with just that isness that is the absence of all that sort of what would we like to call it, distortion and turmoil. Yeah. But as you get older, you really crave it. Who relates to that? If you're old, if you're older in the right, as you're getting older, you'll crave more and more steadiness. When you're young, you can handle all that turmoil, and you almost crave it in a way because it gives, I think, it gives us some sense of meaning to life. It's like, oh, I'm suffering, and this is why I'm suffering, and then we're like, yes, I'm succeeding. I'm succeeding. And both of them are illusions. You're not really suffering and you're not really succeeding. That's just, both are lies. And whatever you believe is what is real for you. So if one person showed up for this teacher training and I went, man, I'm really unsuccessful, that's no more true than if 100 people showed up. I'm not any more successful with 100 people in this room or with one person in this room. I'm only successful in the eyes of another person. And one person will tell me I'm successful, and another person will say, hey, that was awesome. One person's great. Congratulations. And then one person will go, 100 people, that's not that great. I mean, you see what I'm saying? So as soon as you buy into other people's perceptions and truths, you're lost. Because, again, today they'll tell you you're pretty, tomorrow they'll tell you you're ugly. You never, ever buy into what people tell you. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care who tells it to you. The reality is that the only reason that we require approval from other people is because we crave, we desire naturally a social safety. That's it. If it weren't for social safety, you would not give a shit what another person thought. That is a fact. You only care because you want to remain in the herd. When you can break that, when you can literally let go of people-pleasing and needing to show up a certain way to make sure you're safe, you will have the greatest liberation you can experience. And I can tell you something. I know that personally for a fact. I'm one of the more liberated people in this industry. And I say liberated because I really, and a lot of people are like, dude, you care. I'm like, I really, honestly, I have maybe about a 10% care left in me. It's a very small amount of care. About 90% of me just does not give a shit. You don't like it, you do like it. What I've realized in my life is to talk around the truth, to talk, that's fair. Let's just state, to talk around the truth is a lie for me. It is inauthentic. I'm not going to come in this room and tell you that I think everybody, that I'm not going to come in this room and go, oh yeah, I think believing in this is and sure you can believe. I don't believe that. I think all of these are bad ideas. I think every idea that comes into the human brain is ultimately simply an idea. And the difference between an idea that's good and an idea that's bad is that one person believes that that's good and one person believes that that's bad, and that is the only difference. I don't see any other thing that can demonstrate good and bad other than what each one of those actions simply creates. in effect? What's its effect? You know what I'm saying? What's its effect? So someone comes in and, we look at World War II and we go, oh, Hitler was such a bad guy. But maybe Hitler's behavior changed the world and the way the world sees ugly darkness. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? So in other words, we love to go bad and then we go, but what about what the bad creates in, again, we're using the term bad and good. But do we understand that when we get stuck in these small places, we say, in these very myopic viewpoints of how the universe works, we go good and bad, good and bad, good and bad. But I say, no, there's just what is and what is not. There's only what's occurring and what's not occurring, what's necessary, what's unnecessary. If you want to know if you're doing the right thing, look at what occurs from what you did. If the problem stops, you did what is necessary. If the problem persists, then you did what is unnecessary. How's that? If you're like, I just don't know how to make decisions, how about this? You made a decision, and then you look, what occurred? Did the problem stop? Then it seems like you did what is necessary. But you want to call it right. You want to call it good, fine. Call it what you want. And then if you do something that's unnecessary, you go, oh, the problem's still going on. Then it looks like you did what is unnecessary or wrong, if you want to play with that. So these ways that we go about the universe and these very limited, understandings, these just continue perpetuating ignorance and discrimination and intolerance. I don't believe in that, and I cannot teach from there. Can you? How are you going to teach when you go out there? Because you can't teach just like me, because you're not me. So you have to teach like you. But here's the question. What have you discovered about you that you're going to share? And that's what it really comes down to. What have you learned about you that you're going to share? Because that's all we can do is share what we've learned about ourselves. I'm in here sharing with you what I've learned. I'm not teaching you, I'm sharing. Because there's no guarantee you'll walk out of here with anything that I've said as yours. Right? Because I'm going to teach you this lesson. No. Right? So I'll share with you some information, and you get to decide. Now, with that said, what are you going to share? So whether you're a teacher, you're a father, you're an employee, you're a brother, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to share it? And are you going to share it in a way that pleases other people so that everybody's, that everybody's eased and comforted by your words? Because I can tell you right now, 5 people in a room and you share one point, but you share that point clearly, somebody's going to disagree with you. Somebody's going to not like what you said. Are you prepared for that? Because when your audience gets bigger, so do your critics. It was fine when I only had 5 people in the room, but now that I have thousands of people that see me, I get thousands of assholes too that are angry at me. You're horrible. You're this. You're that. You're the yoga devil. You're destroying yoga. Yeah, you're destroying. You're destroying the the sacredness of yoga. I'm like, yoga's not sacred, right? Yoga's not sacred. There's no such thing. That's a concept. So when you walk in and go, this is a sacred space. No, it's not. You just made that up. You just made everything up. There's no such thing as sacred, not sacred. Special, not special. That's all invented in your little pea head. Now, if you'd like to tell me you would like me to behave a certain way in this space, like when we come in this space, we take our shoes off. When we come in this space, we bow to enter the room to show respect. Okay, cool. I can operate and work within the agreements that you lay down. Not a problem. But don't tell me that this space means something to me that it actually means to you. Don't tell me that this practice means something to me that it actually means to you. And that is the difference. So that's what I have learned, and that's what we're going to work on for 2 weeks. Just this dropping. So when you look at somebody and go, hey man, that means a lot to me, you go, okay, cool. I hear that means a lot to you. Great. I can honor that. But I want you to understand, just because it means a lot to you does not mean it means a lot to me. I don't have to, you understand, adopt that. Your meanings and your things of importance. That's how it works. Right? And that's part of the biggest part of the suffering, is that we want everybody to see it the way we see it. Feel about it the way we do. So what we have to drop is not only our projection onto other people that they need to experience the world the same way we do, but our desire to punish them when they don't. That's the next thing. The punishment of people when they don't see it the way we see it. When they don't believe the way we do. But you know what's modern day, what's our favorite punishment these days? Social media shaming. That's what we do nowadays. We've got a whole new tool. We just social media shaming. That's the new skill. Right? We just share it on Facebook. We share it on this, and we take really limited sound bites, and we go, look at that guy, look at that girl, what a whore, what an idiot, and we just shame things. So it's fine to share information. I'm all about it. I do it, but I also think that at the end of the day, we have to be very careful to not project on other people our meanings and our interpretations and our beliefs, and certainly, and most importantly, not punish them when they don't share them. So for 2 weeks, you get to practice that with each other, understanding that everybody in this room has created lots of meanings around things. And you guys in this room who've created meanings around things, you get to work on dropping all those meanings and realizing that those are made up too. Everything that I look at you and I go, your mom's ugly, and you go, how, what, and really? That's how we are about life. We're like, you said my mom is, it's like, you say something, because I'm going to make that mean something. So we just take that childish, silly behavior from high school and middle school and elementary school, your mom's ugly, and we get angry at each other, into adulthood, and we go, you don't believe in the same God I believe in, so I'm going to cut your head off. That's a fucking bad idea. Right? That's a bad idea. These are all bad ideas. And why I think religion is a bad idea, on my final note, is because it tries to share and spread beliefs to other people emphatically, and it tries to convert other people into believing what another person believes. And it's full of bad ideas. That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea for me to get you to believe anything. And I'm not getting you to believe anything right now. I'm getting you to question everything you believe. There's a difference. So don't tell me I'm trying to get you to believe what I believe. I don't give a shit what you believe. I want you to look at what you believe and ask every question possible to determine whether what you believe or not is just not made up. That's your work. Not to believe what I believe. Budokon is not about believing anything. It's about believing nothing. So that then you can, in each new moment, decide how you're going to respond and work with the universe around you. So we don't believe in anything other than identifying what we do believe in. So people like to try to stick me. They go, you want people to believe what you believe. And I go, oh no. You mean in nothing? I'll take that. I get people to believe in the exploration of belief. And that's what we're working on. So I want to drop all bad ideas. And all ideas that come out of this brain are ultimately bad ones, for the most part. So let's just move. Then what does that leave us with? And here's our finale. It leaves us with natural movement. Get out of your brain and start moving from your intuition. See what occurs. Instead of thinking how you're going to deal with a person, how do you feel? What's authentic for you? Because when something's, I know we've all noticed this in relationships, when something is just congruent, it just works, isn't it? You know what I mean? When the congruency's there, it's effortless in a way. There's some thinking, there's some work, true. But when congruency's present, it just unfolds. You don't have to debate it. You don't have to talk people into it. It's like, yeah, I see it. You see it? Cool. It's just this flow that occurs. And so work from less concept and more from this authentic cooperative space that exists within all mammals. Certainly primates. We are cooperative, compassionate, caring animals. Naturally. Nobody gave us that other than ourselves. Right? That's the gift we gave ourselves. That gift was not given to us by anything other than us. And so we are cooperative, caring, and compassionate. And when we just work off that, everything unfolds. It's amazing how you have this many people in a small space and have cooperation, compassion, and caring with this many people in a little home. But what does it teach you? When people are doing their work, you can stick 1,000 people in a small space. And it can be love and beauty and congruency and flow and harmony. All right, good. Good mind science today. I hope that you were thoroughly mindfucked today. And I hope that it was really interesting. And if I said things you already knew, good for you. And if I said something you didn't and you want to chew on it, good for you as well. And we're going to take a quick break, use the bathroom, do whatever you need to do, get ready to go outside and work on the Budokon primary series, which Elaine is going to take you guys through the primary series from start to finish, a whole flow through, so you get a feel of the series beginning to end. And then we will probably break for some lunch at some point after that. And then we'll come back and we'll start breaking down the primary series section at a time, posture at a time, and looking at the anatomy and physiology and architecture of each asana and of the sequence. Sound good? All right. Us. Good. Good. Get out there. Thanks for tuning in.
The bag to the practice?
They don't need their